Have you ever seen a bird so colorful, so unreal, that you'd swear it came straight out of a dream? Welcome to the Bahamas, a place where the ocean glows, the breeze hums, and even the birds seem to be showing off. Out here, every branch, every shoreline holds a secret with wings. Some shimmer like living jewels. Others sing with voices that echo through the islands. And a few, well, they're so rare that even locals stop and stare. In this episode, we'll meet 15 extraordinary Bahamian birds, each more stunning, strange, or mysterious than the last. From a hummingbird that flashes emerald green in the sunlight, to a pigeon wearing a crown like island royalty, to a gull that literally sounds like it's laughing at you. These birds aren't just beautiful. They tell the story of how life thrives in one of the most dazzling corners of our planet. So grab your curiosity, settle in, and get ready to see paradise through the eyes of its most extraordinary residents. Our journey begins with one of the brightest little gems in the Caribbean sky, the Cuban Emerald. Imagine standing in a quiet Bahamian garden just after sunrise. The air is still, and then suddenly, a tiny green spark shoots past your face. It's not an insect, not a trick of the light. It's the Cuban Emerald, one of the most dazzling little creatures in the entire Caribbean sky. This hummingbird looks like it was handcrafted by nature's jeweler. Its feathers flash emerald green and sapphire blue. Its throat catches the sunlight and glows like a living gem. From a distance, it's just a shimmer. Up close, it's pure electricity wrapped in feathers. Now here's the twist. Despite its delicate looks, the Cuban Emerald is a fearless little fighter. It guards its favorite flowers like treasure. If another hummingbird dares to sip from its nectar supply, it doesn't hesitate to dive bomb the intruder, wings buzzing like a miniature chainsaw. Think of it as a 5-gram gladiator with a serious caffeine problem. They live on energy, literally. Their wings beat around 80 times every second. Their heart? Over 1,000 beats a minute while flying. And just to keep that motor running, they have to drink nectar from hundreds of flowers every day. If you think your morning coffee habit is bad, this bird would out-caffeine you before breakfast. Fun fact, when a Cuban Emerald hovers, its wings move so fast they create a faint hum you can actually hear. That's not background noise. That's the sound of life running at full speed. But there's another side to them too. When they pause on a branch, their body glows under the sun, and for just a moment, the whole forest seems to slow down around them. It's one of those sights that makes even the noisiest traveler stop and whisper, "Wow, that's real?" So here's a question for you. If you could choose to live fast like the hummingbird, burning bright every second, or slow down like the calm waves around these islands, which would you pick? Because next we're meeting a bird that doesn't just shimmer, it explodes in color. The rainbow-feathered show-off of the tropics, the Painted Bunting. Picture this. You're walking through a patch of Bahamian forest when something flashes by. A blur of red, blue, green, and yellow. You freeze thinking your eyes are playing tricks on you. But no, that's a real bird, and it's called the Painted Bunting. If the Cuban Emerald is a jewel, this one's the entire treasure chest. The male Painted Bunting looks like someone took a paintbrush and just went wild. A royal blue head, scarlet belly, bright green back, and lemon yellow shoulders. It's as if Mother Nature couldn't decide on one color, so she used them all. Now here's the funny part. For a bird that looks like a flying rainbow, the Painted Bunting is actually very shy. It loves hiding in thickets and shrubs, singing sweet, liquid notes from deep cover while pretending no one can see it. Kind of like that friend who sings amazing karaoke, but only when no one's around. Their song is soft but beautiful, a rolling whistle that sounds like summer itself. And yes, it's the males doing most of the singing, trying to impress the females and mark their territory. In bird world, it's less about pickup lines and more about pitch control. Here's a fun fact. When they're young, both males and females wear the same plain green feathers. It's camouflage, helps them stay safe from predators. But after about a year, the males transform, molting into that stunning rainbow suit. It's nature's version of a glow-up, from invisible to unforgettable. Painted buntings are also surprisingly tough. They migrate long distances, from the southern United States all the way through the Caribbean, braving storms and open ocean to spend the winter in warm island thickets, including the Bahamas. So beneath all that beauty is a traveler built for endurance. And here's something to think about. This little bird, barely 5 inches long, crosses hundreds of miles every year without a map. Just instinct and determination. Makes you wonder what we'd accomplish if we trusted our own sense of direction that much. So tell me, if you could pick one color to fly with, would you go bold and brilliant like the painted bunting? Or keep it cool and clever like the bird that's coming next, the Bahama Mockingbird? You're walking down a quiet Bahamian path, waves whispering in the distance, when suddenly you hear something strange. A whistle, a chirp, a frog croak, and... Wait a second. Was that your phone ringtone? That's not your imagination. That's the Bahama Mockingbird, the island's one-bird orchestra and expert impressionist. This clever little bird can mimic almost anything it hears. Other birds, frogs, crickets, even the squeak of a gate or a human whistle. If it spends enough time near people, it'll copy you too. Some locals swear they've heard one imitate a car alarm, proof that even paradise has pranksters. Now visually, it's not as flashy as the painted bunting. Grayish-brown feathers, white streaks on the wings, a long tail that flicks as it sings. But when it opens its beak, it becomes the voice of the islands. The Bahama Mockingbird doesn't just sing for fun, it sings to compete. Each male builds a set list of songs to impress females and challenge rivals. And here's where it gets wild. The more songs it knows, the more attractive it becomes. In other words, in the bird world, musical range equals charisma. Fun fact, this species is endemic to the Bahamas and nearby islands, which means it doesn't live anywhere else on Earth. When you hear its song, you're hearing something found only here, a sound born from this landscape of wind, coral, and sunlight. And yes, it's territorial. If another bird dares to sing too close, the mockingbird won't fight. It'll outsing them. A battle of melodies instead of claws. Imagine two birds dueling with pure music until one finally gives up. When you stop and listen, the song changes every few seconds. High, low, fast, soft. Never the same twice. It's like the bird version of jazz. So here's a thought for you. If you could mimic any sound in the world, would you choose the ocean, the wind, or maybe your favorite song? Because next we're meeting a smaller island resident, a bird that doesn't sing loudly but still steals attention with its sharp little mask, the black-faced grassquit. Out on a sunlit Bahamian hillside, a small, dark bird hops between blades of grass. At first glance, you might not even notice it, and that's exactly how the black-faced grassquit likes it. This tiny finch is only about 4 inches long, olive green on the body with a sharply contrasting black face that looks like a miniature superhero mask. You could call it the masked sparrow of the islands. Small, quiet, but full of personality. The grassquit spends most of its day doing one thing, eating. It hops and flicks its tail up and down as it searches for seeds, a little motion that makes it look like it's dancing to its own soundtrack. And despite its size, it's fearless. You can walk right past one, and it'll keep feeding, throwing you a quick side glance as if to say, "Go ahead, human, I'm busy here." Now here's the interesting part. That black mask isn't just decoration. It's a signal of strength. Only the males wear it, and the darker and bolder the mask, the more attractive they are to females. It's their way of saying, "I've got the best genes and the best grass patch," a natural badge of confidence. Fun fact, grassquits are masters of survival. They're found across Caribbean islands, thriving in dry scrublands and open fields where few other birds dare to live. Their simple diet and small size make them perfectly adapted to island life. And while they may not have the rainbow feathers of a painted bunting or the musical talent of a mockingbird, they've got something else, pure attitude. For a bird that weighs less than a ping pong ball, the black-faced grassquit walks around like it owns the place. Listen closely in the early morning, and you'll hear their short, buzzing song, a series of quick, sharp notes that sound like sparks skipping through the grass. So here's a question for you. Would you rather stand out like the colorful show-offs of the forest, or blend in quietly like this tiny masked survivor, confident, calm, and unstoppable? Because next we're heading into the mangroves to meet an island bird with royal style, the white-crowned pigeon. If the Bahamas had a royal court, this bird would be wearing the crown. Meet the white-crowned pigeon, the island's quiet aristocrat, sleek gray feathers, ruby red eyes, and that perfect white cap sitting right on top of its head. It looks like it's flying straight out of a royal portrait. You'll find it gliding low over the mangroves at sunrise, powerful wings cutting through the warm air as it heads for breakfast. And that breakfast? Fruit. Lots and lots of fruit. Sea grapes, poisonwood berries, wild figs. It's a flying fruit connoisseur. But here's what makes this bird more than just another pretty face. When it eats, it helps the island grow. The white-crowned pigeon swallows fruit whole, then carries the seeds across the islands before dropping them elsewhere. That means every flight it takes is planting the next forest, a natural gardener in royal feathers. Now here's a twist. This species is a bit of an ocean traveler. White-crowned pigeons will cross open water between islands, sometimes flying miles over the sea just to reach a fruiting tree. They're stronger than they look, and surprisingly smart about timing their flights. They know the wind, the light, and the tides. But life as island royalty isn't all easy. They've faced trouble from habitat loss and hunting in parts of the Caribbean, which is why protected mangrove forests are so important here in the Bahamas. When these pigeons disappear, so does the cycle of replanting the islands. Here's a fun fact. Locals once nicknamed them bald pates because of that shiny white crown. But truth be told, there's nothing bald about their importance. They're the lifeblood of the ecosystem, quietly rebuilding paradise one seed at a time. And when they perch in the sunlight, the gray feathers shimmer with hidden iridescence. Not flashy, but undeniably noble. So tell me, if you were crowned king or queen of the islands, would you spend your days ruling the skies like this? Or stay grounded, building forests from the shadows? Because next we're meeting a much smaller bird, quick, restless, and painted in cool shades of blue-gray. Say hello to the blue-gray gnatcatcher. Out in the quiet corners of Bahamian woodlands, there's a tiny streak of motion that most people never notice. A flick of a tail, a flash of silver blue, and a faint, sharp tse-tse-tse that sounds like static in the trees. That's the blue-gray gnatcatcher, a bird so small you could mistake it for a leaf, until it starts moving like it just drank 2 espressos. This little acrobat never sits still. It hops, flits, and darts through branches, chasing invisible insects midair. Its body is no bigger than your thumb, but it moves with the confidence of something 10 times its size. The slate blue feathers and white eye ring give it a soft, curious look, like a cartoon character come to life. But don't be fooled. Behind that innocent face is a clever hunter. The gnatcatcher doesn't just fly after bugs, it herds them, using its long tail to flush them out of hiding. It fans that tail open, flashes the white edges, and startles insects right into its open beak. Quick, silent, and efficient. A predator disguised as cute. Here's a fun fact. This species builds one of the most delicate nests in the bird world. It weaves spider silk, moss, and bits of lichen together until the whole thing looks like a knot on a branch. Perfect camouflage. The female lays tiny eggs the size of blueberries, and both parents share the work of raising the chicks. In a world full of flash and noise, these birds win with teamwork and subtlety. And yes, they're talkative. You'll hear them calling constantly, as if they're commenting on everything they see. Maybe that's how they stay married. Constant communication. The blue-gray gnatcatcher may not have bright colors or a grand song, but it's proof that energy and curiosity can be just as beautiful as brilliance. You can almost feel its spark when it zips by. So here's a question. If you could live your life in motion, light, fast, and curious, would you take that freedom? Because next we're meeting a bird that trades speed for power, a master fisherman with a crown of feathers and lightning reflexes, the belted kingfisher. Imagine standing beside a calm Bahamian lagoon, the water smooth as glass, until a sudden splash breaks the silence. A streak of blue and white plunges in, disappears beneath the surface, then bursts back into the air with a fish clamped tight in its beak. That's the belted kingfisher, the island's no-nonsense fisherman. This bird looks like it was born to make an entrance. Slate blue feathers, a sharp white collar, and that spiky crest that always seems one gust away from a bad hair day. But somehow it works. Add a loud, rattling call that sounds like a tiny engine revving, and you'll hear it long before you see it. Kingfishers hunt with surgical precision. They perch above the water, absolutely still, watching for the flick of a fish below. Then they dive like a thrown spear, fast, straight, and exact. No splashy chaos, no hesitation, just one perfect strike. Here's a fun twist. In this species, the female is actually flashier than the male. She wears an extra belt of rusty orange across her chest, a rare reversal in the bird world where the guys usually get all the color. So yes, even in nature, some queens just have better fashion sense. Their nests are another surprise. They don't use trees or cliffs. They dig tunnels, sometimes 6 feet long, into sandy riverbanks or coastal slopes. At the end of that tunnel is a cozy chamber where they raise their chicks, safe from storms and predators. You could call it the original beachfront property. When they're not diving or digging, belted kingfishers patrol their territory with loud rattles that echo across the water. They're bold, solitary, and proud, a true symbol of independence. Watching one in action feels like seeing focus in motion. No wasted effort, no second guessing, just pure instinct. So tell me, if you could borrow one skill from the animal kingdom, would you take the hummingbird's speed or the kingfisher's perfect aim? Because coming up next, we're stepping out of the daylight and into the dark, where a ghostly hunter rules the night skies of the Bahamas, the barn owl. It's night in the Bahamian countryside. The air is still, the stars are bright, and the only sound is the whisper of wind through the palms. Then, nothing. Complete silence. And just when you think the world's asleep, a pale shadow glides across the moonlight. That's the barn owl, the silent ghost of the islands. No hoots, no screeches, no warning. This bird hunts in near total silence. Its wings are shaped with tiny serrations that break up the sound of air, so when it swoops down on a mouse or a lizard, the prey never hears it coming. It's nature's stealth fighter. Soft feathers, deadly precision. Its face is unmistakable. That heart-shaped disc that looks both beautiful and eerie at once. But it's not just for looks. That shape funnels sound straight into its ears, helping it pinpoint movement in the dark with surgical accuracy. A barn owl can hear a mouse's heartbeat from across a field. They often nest in old trees, cliffs, or abandoned buildings. And yes, sometimes actual barns, where they raise a handful of fluffy white chicks that hiss and snap like tiny dragons. Romantic? Not exactly. Effective? Absolutely. Here's a fun fact. Scientists say that if you could hear what a barn owl hears, you'd never sleep again. They can detect the faint rustle of a beetle crawling under leaves. That's how tuned in their senses are. But despite their ghostly image, barn owls are vital to the island's balance. One owl family can eat thousands of rodents a year. Farmer's best friend, even if they look like they came from a Halloween story. And when you see one glide across a moonlit field, the feathers glowing faint silver, it's easy to understand why so many island myths call them messengers between worlds. So here's a thought for you. If silence could be a superpower, would you use it to hunt or to listen? Because next we're heading back into daylight, where the sky fills with pure white wings and the horizon turns into poetry. Meet the White Tern. Morning breaks over the Bahamian coast. The water turns silver, the sky opens wide, and high above it all glides a bird so bright and pure, it almost disappears into the light. That's the white tern, the angel of the open sea. If you've never seen one before, you might think it's a trick of the eye, a flash of sunlight, a wisp of cloud that moves too gracefully to be wind. But look closer, and you'll see a body built for perfection. Sleek white feathers, jet black eyes, and wings that seem to slice through the air without effort. The white tern doesn't fly, it floats. And here's where it gets fascinating. This bird is one of the few in the world that doesn't build a nest at all. It lays its single egg right on a tree branch. No twigs, no grass, just balance and trust. The egg sits there, exposed to the breeze, held in place only by instinct and care. It's risky, but somehow it works. Every year, the same pair returns to the same spot, raising one chick at a time, teaching it to fly above the turquoise water. White terns mate for life, and their bond is so strong that they can find each other across miles of open ocean just by recognizing each other's call. Fun fact, sailors used to believe white terns were spirits guiding them toward land. When the birds appeared, it meant safety wasn't far away. Even today, when one glides close to a boat, people often fall silent. It feels like a good omen. They hunt small fish and squid, diving lightly into the sea, never clumsy, never hurried. Watching a group of them feeding at sunset looks like a ballet of light and motion. Pure calm above the chaos of the waves. And maybe that's the magic of this bird. Proof that peace can exist in motion, and grace doesn't need color to shine. So here's a question. If you could live anywhere, sky, sea, or land, where would you feel most free? Because next we'll meet a bird that shares the same ocean home, but wears a darker coat and sails like a shadow at sunset. The brown noddy. The sun's dropping low over the Bahamian horizon. Waves glitter gold. The air smells like salt and warm wind. And out over the water, a soft brown shape glides in steady silence. That's the brown noddy, one of the calmest, most graceful seabirds in the islands, and one of the most trusted companions of the open sea. The brown noddy isn't flashy. No bright colors, no loud calls, no dramatic dives. Its beauty lives in its quiet confidence. Smooth chocolate brown feathers, a pale gray cap, and long, elegant wings that seem to rest on the wind. If the white tern is the angel of the sea, the brown noddy is the monk. Peaceful, patient, perfectly at ease with the waves. They spend most of their lives out over the ocean, following schools of fish and reading the ripples of the surface like a living weather map. When they spot movement, they swoop down, dip their beaks into the water, and rise again with a tiny fish or squid. Clean, precise, effortless. And about that name, noddy? It comes from the way these birds greet one another. They bow their heads up and down in gentle rhythm, as if nodding politely before takeoff. It's a small gesture, but it earned them their name hundreds of years ago. Fun fact, centuries ago, sailors watched for noddies because they were signs of land. When a ship had been at sea for months and someone spotted a flock of brown noddies, it meant islands, and safety, were near. They were, quite literally, hope with wings. Brown noddies nest in colonies on remote cays and rocky cliffs, building rough nests out of seaweed and twigs glued together by guano. Not pretty, but strong, and in the middle of the ocean, that's what matters. If you ever see them at sunset, gliding silently against the orange sky, you'll understand their power. They don't need to shout to be seen, they just belong. So tell me, which would you rather be? The angelic white tern, glowing in the light, or the brown noddy, moving with quiet certainty through the storm? Because next we're heading to the beach for something noisier. A gull that actually laughs out loud. The laughing gull. Walk along any Bahamian beach and you'll hear it before you see it. A loud, cheeky ha 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 echoing above the surf. That's not someone telling a joke. That's the laughing gull, the prankster of the Caribbean sky. With its crisp white body, charcoal gray wings, and jet black head, the laughing gull looks like it's dressed for a formal event, but it never acts the part. This bird is bold, loud, and absolutely shameless when it comes to stealing food. Drop a French fry, and it's gone before you can blink. They're the comedians and the thieves of the beach. They live in large colonies, squabbling, cackling, and swooping through the air like a group of rowdy friends who never learned about indoor voices. But that laughter isn't just for fun, it's communication. Each call has meaning: warning, challenge, invitation, even affection. And when an entire flock gets going, it sounds like a crowd cheering at a comedy club. Fun fact, laughing gulls are incredibly loyal to their home turf. They return to the same nesting sites year after year, often meeting up with the same mate. They build their nests on sandy islands or salt marshes, carefully lining them with grass and seaweed. For such loud birds, they're surprisingly devoted parents. And here's the twist: they're also vital to the coastal ecosystem. By cleaning up scraps of fish and organic waste, they help keep beaches from turning into nature's trash pile. So while they might snatch your lunch, they're also doing their part to keep paradise clean. Watch them closely when they soar. They're masters of the wind, tilting and gliding effortlessly above the waves, calling out that unmistakable laugh as if the whole world is in on the joke. And maybe that's why people love them, because they remind us not to take life too seriously. So here's your question. If you could trade silence for laughter, even in chaos, would you? Because up next, we're meeting a gull that takes the opposite approach. Quiet, sleek, and mysterious, the lesser black-backed gull. Out past the laughter and noise of the beach, a darker figure glides over the open Bahamian sea. No chatter, no showmanship, just long, steady wings cutting through the wind. That's the lesser black-backed gull, the silent voyager of the islands. Where the laughing gull fills the air with jokes, this one speaks only through movement, smooth, confident, and sharp as a blade. Its wings are deep charcoal gray, its body snow white, and its yellow eyes scan the horizon with a calm that feels almost human. These gulls are true travelers. Many of them migrate thousands of miles, crossing from northern Europe all the way to the Caribbean every winter. That's nearly 4,000 miles of nonstop determination. No GPS, no compass, just instinct and the pull of the stars. They're also expert hunters. A lesser black-backed gull can hover high above the waves, watching for flashes of silver below, then fold its wings and dive with terrifying accuracy. A split second later, dinner. Sometimes they'll even steal fish right out of another bird's beak. Efficient? Absolutely. Polite? Not so much. Here's a fun fact. Their eyes are so finely tuned they can see through glare on the water. While we're reaching for sunglasses, they're already spotting lunch 100 feet below. That's why they always look like they know something you don't. Despite their power, these gulls are surprisingly adaptable. They can survive on fish, crabs, scraps from boats, or even washed-up shellfish. They're not picky, they're survivors. And when storms roll in, you'll see them gliding along the edge of the wind, riding the chaos like it's just another day at work. Watch one land on a quiet stretch of sand, wings folding in with slow precision, and you'll see why sailors respected them. The steady presence of the sea, both elegant and untamed. So here's a question for you. Would you rather live loud like the laughing gull, or move silent and sure like this dark-winged traveler? Because next we're heading inland again, where the forests hide a smaller but no less dangerous hunter, the sharp-shinned hawk. Deep in the quiet forests of the Bahamas, the air goes still. No chirps, no rustling, just silence. Then out of nowhere, a blur of feathers slices between the trees. It's fast, it's focused, and by the time you realize what you've seen, it's gone. That's the sharp-shinned hawk, the island's stealth assassin of the sky. At first glance, it doesn't look like much. Smaller than a crow, slender and quiet. But this bird is built for speed. Short, rounded wings and a long tail give it the agility to twist and turn through dense forests like a feathered fighter jet. It hunts mostly small songbirds, the ones too slow or distracted to notice the danger above. The sharp-shinned hawk's strategy is pure ambush. It hides among the branches, waits for just the right moment, then explodes forward in a burst of motion. No sound, no warning, just precision. Even the mockingbird can't outsing this one because it won't hear it coming. Here's a fun fact. Despite its fierce nature, this hawk weighs less than half a pound. It's all muscle, feathers, and instinct. That small size is what makes it deadly. It can dive through spaces barely wider than its own wings. When they're not hunting, sharp-shinned hawks are travelers too. They migrate through the Caribbean each year, riding warm air currents that stretch from North America all the way down to the islands. You might see one gliding high above the mangroves, moving south with nothing but the wind as a guide. And here's the twist. As fierce as they are, they're also shy. They prefer solitude, slipping through forests unseen. Most people live their whole lives never realizing one might have flown right past them. But every ecosystem needs balance, and this hawk provides it. Without hunters like these, the forest would overflow with smaller birds, and the delicate rhythm of island life would fall apart. So here's a thought. Would you rather be the voice that fills the forest or the silence that keeps it in balance? Because next, we're leaving the forest for the open fields and wetlands, where a ghostly predator glides low over the grass, the northern harrier. Out on the Bahamian wetlands, the light is soft. The grass moves like water, and above it all, a single bird floats low and slow, a gray shadow, silent and smooth. That's the northern harrier, the ghost of the marsh. Unlike most hawks that soar high and strike from above, this one hunts on whispering wings just a few feet over the ground. It glides in long, graceful lines, head tilted downward, listening for the faintest rustle of life below. You could stand there for minutes watching it. It doesn't flap much, doesn't rush, just flows with the wind, patient and precise. Here's the secret behind its eerie skill. That round, owl-like face isn't for looks. It's a built-in radar dish. The facial disc funnels sound straight to its ears, allowing the harrier to hear prey moving under the grass. It hunts with both sight and sound, a double advantage that makes escape almost impossible. The males are pale gray, nicknamed gray ghosts by birdwatchers. The females, larger and brown, rule the marsh with quiet authority. Together, they form one of the most graceful hunting teams in nature. During mating season, the male performs an aerial dance, loops, dives, and quick turns high above the reeds, a courtship show that looks more like joy than aggression. When the female accepts, they build their nest right on the ground, hidden deep among tall reeds, safe from predators and storms. Fun fact, northern harriers can travel thousands of miles every year, migrating from the far north of America down to the warm Bahamian coastlines for winter. They know when to leave, where to land, and how to ride the air currents like old sailors reading the sea. Watching one glide through the morning fog feels almost unreal, like the land itself has grown wings. So here's a question for you. If you could move through the world without making a sound, what would you listen for first? The wind, the waves, or the heartbeat of the earth? Because next we're meeting the final traveler in our island story, a small bird of the shore that flips stones for a living, the ruddy turnstone. The tide is rolling in along a quiet Bahamian beach. The sand glitters, shells line the shore, and a small bird scurries between the waves like it's late for an appointment. Every few steps it stops, flips a shell, or turns over a pebble with its beak. That's how it got its name. This is the ruddy turnstone, the beachcomber of the bird world. It's not a big bird, barely 9 inches long, but it moves with purpose. Its feathers are beautifully patterned in rusty orange, black and white, a design that looks almost hand-painted. When it takes flight, the bold stripes on its wings flash like a signal, a reminder that small things can stand out even against an endless sea. The turnstone's whole life is built around curiosity. While other shorebirds probe sand for worms, this one goes full detective, flipping seaweed, shells, driftwood, anything that might hide a snack. Crabs, insects, even bits of fish. If it moves, the turnstone finds it. And here's what's incredible. These little birds are world travelers. Many breed in the Arctic tundra, then fly thousands of miles south to spend winter on warm tropical beaches like the Bahamas. It's a migration that can stretch over 10,000 miles, a round trip longer than some people travel in a lifetime. Fun fact, turnstones are surprisingly social. You'll often see them feeding together in small groups, each bird working a tiny section of beach like a foraging team. They chatter softly while they work, a steady rhythm of calls that sounds like pebbles clicking in the surf. But beneath that calm rhythm is pure resilience. They cross storms, continents, and oceans every year, guided only by memory and instinct. And somehow, they return to the same beach again and again. Watching a ruddy turnstone at work is like watching determination in miniature. It reminds you that persistence doesn't have to be loud to be powerful. So here's my final question. If you could follow one of these travelers on its journey, where would you go? The frozen Arctic, or right back here, to the warm sands of the Bahamas? Because this isn't just paradise for people, it's a kingdom of wings. And there you have it. 15 rare and remarkable birds that call the Bahamas home. From the jewel-like shimmer of the Cuban Emerald to the quiet grace of the White Tern, each one shows a different face of paradise. Colorful, clever, resilient, and alive. What makes these islands special isn't just the beaches or the turquoise water. It's the life that fills every corner. The songs at sunrise, the shadows that glide across the waves, the wings that never seem to rest. Every bird here plays a part. The gardener pigeons that plant the forest, the hunters that keep balance, and the tiny travelers who cross entire oceans just to touch down on this sand. The next time you hear wings flutter above you, remember, you might be standing beneath a creature that's flown farther, seen more, and lived wilder than any of us ever could. So, which one was your favorite? The rainbow bunting, the laughing gull, or maybe the silent ghost of the night? Tell us in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more journeys into the wild corners of our planet. Because paradise isn't a place, it's a story, written in feathers, carried on the wind.